So, do I have to call you Miss Corcoran now? Marshall Lee asked his friend Casey Corcoran. Casey's mom had married President Zachary Thornton, and Casey was now living in the White House. Casey and Marshall were walking toward the Lincoln Memorial. "No, you can still call me Casey," she said, "but don't forget to bow every time you see me." Marshall laughed. Then something caught his eye. He squatted down in front of a rose bush. "Wow, look at that!" he cried. A fat black and yellow spider was dangling from its web in the bush. "No, thanks," Casey said. "You look at it for me." "But he's so beautiful," Marshall said, inching closer to the spider. He loved most animals, but especially the kinds with 6 or 8 legs. Marshall dreamed of getting a job in the insect room at the Museum of Natural History. Casey pulled him back. "Come on, Marsh, before it decides to rain again." The morning had started out cloudy, and then the sky had turned black. Wind had howled through Washington, D.C., and large raindrops had pelted down. By 10 o'clock, the rain had stopped. The sun broke through the clouds as Casey and Marshall crossed the lawn near the reflecting pool. Gusts of wind blew leaves all around their feet. "I don't understand why you need to take pictures of Abraham Lincoln's statue," Marshall said. They had reached the wide lawn in front of the memorial. "I told you on the phone this morning," Casey said, "but you were feeding Spike and you weren't paying attention." Spike was Marshall's pet tarantula, who slept inside a baseball cap in Marshall's room. "So tell me again," Marshall said, grinning. "I promise to listen." "Mr. Alabicki told us to do a report on a famous person, right?" Casey asked. "Right," Marshall said. "I'm doing mine on Spider-Man." Casey looked at him in amazement. "Marshall, Spider-Man is a comic book character, not a real person," she said. Marshall grinned. "Mr. A didn't say the person had to be real. Spider-Man is definitely famous." "Well, mine will be about Daniel Chester French," Casey said. "Who's he?" Marshall asked as they walked toward the Lincoln Memorial. "A famous sculptor. He sculpted Abraham Lincoln's statue," Casey said. "It took him 4 years." She reached into her backpack and pulled out her new digital camera, a gift from the president. "How do you know all this stuff?" Marshall asked. Casey planned to become a TV anchorwoman someday. Her hobby was memorizing a lot of facts. "I read a lot about him in the newspaper," Casey said. "The president has declared today Daniel Chester French Day. There was a big article about the ceremony at 5 o'clock tonight." "Will there be cake and ice cream?" asked Marshall. "Probably," Casey said, nodding toward the Lincoln Memorial. "Look, isn't that prettier than some hairy old spider?" Now that the storm had passed, people were on the lawn in front of the Lincoln Memorial enjoying the day. A couple of little kids were trying to fly a kite, but the wind kept crashing it to the ground. 2 young men were tossing a frisbee back and forth. Casey and Marshall climbed the wide steps and walked between the columns in front of the Lincoln statue. They stared up at Lincoln's calm face, high above them. Daniel Chester French had sculpted him sitting in a big chair which stood on top of a 10-foot platform. An aluminum ladder leaned against the platform. A black ladder lay on the floor next to 2 buckets of cleaning supplies. "I read that the statue is 19 feet high, from Lincoln's feet to the top of his head," Casey told Marshall. "And if Lincoln could stand up, he'd be 28 feet tall."